NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I am the aforementioned Jason Dannelly of the Victory Sports Network, bringing you tonight's show. As always, this show is brought to you by you, the supporters of the Victory Sports Network. We've gone ad-free here in 2026, so if you so choose to want to support this show, you can certainly do so by visiting victorysportsnetwork.com. and then hitting up that donate link. I'll add it into the comments here tonight. You can add your comments below if you'd like to have a conversation with us, because tonight we're talking about everything, quite literally everything, every single conference in NAIA football, how we see things going, how we've got them picked, maybe do a little comparison to how the coaches have got things picked. Not every conference has got their coaches preseason poll out yet, so we're not afforded the opportunity to do that for every conference, but most of the conferences in the NAIA we will. We're doing that all tonight. If we had a video breakdown, we would say thanks to our friends at Huddle. We'll say thanks to our friends at Huddle anyway, because, well, throughout the season, they help bring us all the fine video that we like to watch each and every week on the Victory Sports Network. All right, so without further ado, we've got conference previews to talk about. We've got things to go through, and there's no better person to help me do that than the other name that's in this show. You knew he'd be here, Mr. Pat Donley. Hi, Pat.
No better person. There's got to be somebody better. Holy moly. I don't know about that. That's some praise.
No better person to be my co-host than Mr. Pat Donley. How about that?
There's only guy that's got a big dopier head than you. That's me. That's for sure.
If I go through the people that I have worked with in the world of NAIA football through the years, the list would probably be like you, John Thayer would come in after that, maybe Brett Beechner, some of the guys I worked with back in the day. I'm pretty like, I've had to have known you for a while. Barry Fouts, possibly, guys that have been around, the league a little bit, you know.
Those guys were all writers, correct? Those guys all wrote for you, I believe, right? Those names? Yeah, I remember some of those guys.
When we traveled the country and did all those games, Thayer did play-by-play. I did commentary. Beach was behind the scenes and then went into coaching. He's been in coaching. Now he's doing quarterback camps and quarterback coaching, so that whole thing's going on there. There's a few others, too, that through the years. Barry has exclusively been a writer. Still does a little writing on VSN from time to time. But he's been a long-time guy that has been covering the world of NAIA football.
I'm just the old meathead football coach who's got some time on his hands, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Invite that guy in. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm excited to be here. Big time. We're getting closer, Jason. Big time preview of these conference. Your preview of the conference dynamics and how we think things will shake out this year.
I'm interested. I'm interested to hear your opinion on things too, just because, everybody's read mine, everybody's taking the pot shots at it and everything. I'm interested to hear what you've got to say and your thoughts. Hey, shout out to Dave listening as they travel back from South Dakota. One of my old college buddies, Ben, sounds like might be with him. So that's good. Ben Wilcox, really good wrestler at Dana College back in the day. In fact, I think it was announced this week or in the last couple of weeks, the former Dana College head wrestling coach won national championship 2006, going into the NAIA Hall of Fame. So how about that?
Awesome.
Anyway, sorry, let's talk football.
I thought you were going to tell me Dana College is coming back. I'm like, oh, really?
No. I wish. I mean, there's a place for it, but it will take millions and millions of dollars. And, ultimately some alum that hits the Powerball and says, you know what, I just won $1 billion. I'm going to throw $100 million at trying to get this college up and going.
We find the wealthiest Nebraskan of all time. There's a guy out there that I know.
Warren Buffett. I mean, there's
I was kind of thinking him, he can make it happen with like the change in his console, right?
Yeah.
Bring Dana back as a famous Nebraskan.
The problem with Warren invests in businesses that make money.
Oh, yeah. Forgot. Yeah. He's been successful. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's reasons why. All right. So
moving on.
One of the funny things that Pat and I talked about prior to the show is, all right, we can't waste much time. We've got like 13 leagues to go through. We want to hammer through these. And what have Pat and I done for the first 5 minutes? Just babble about nothing. So there's that. How about that? All right. So what we're going to do here, folks, for those of you thinking, oh man, you're just going through this, we're going to try to get through each of these previews in about 3 to 4 minutes for each conference. And then at the end, we're going to go back and we're going to add more. In fact, I'm going to set a little timer here on my phone that will say, hey, keep it going, dummy, because otherwise Pat and I will babble forever about things. And we're going to go alphabetical order or start things off with the Appalachian Athletic Conference. This was a conference last year that we saw Reinhardt go to the NAIA Championship Series. Pikeville is always tough. You know, Pat, as you look at my ranking here and you kind of give your quick overview of it, what are your thoughts on the AAC?
I can't disagree. It's been a 2-horse race for some time, really since the formation of this league, and I tend to agree. I'm a history guy. I'm going to go with history on this. You know, whatever, and again, I don't have it in front of me, the schedule, when those two teams face, probably for the conference championship, obviously for the automatic qualifier. I kind of lend, I'm led to believe that is going to be the case once again. I think this is year 4 of that situation occurring, yep. I believe. So I'm going to kind of stick with history. And I feel the same way you do about those top 2, certainly.
Pat, you know when they play one another? November 14th.
Fantastic. Conference championship game. How about that?
I think it really could be. Now, I want to make this about not just saying, yep, this is who's going to be, and blah, 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 and then we're done. I do feel like a team like Bluefield has a lot of starters returning this year. They've got a chance to make some noise. Same with Kentucky Christian. And as you look at the ratings there, I go Reinhardt, U-Pike, Bluefield, Kentucky Christian. The coaches go Pikeville, Reinhardt, Kentucky Christian, Bluefield. That's the top 4. We're in agreement who the top 4 are, maybe just some slightly different positions there. We both have got Rio Grande at 7th in the conference, and then Commonwealth and Union Commonwealth and Point are kind of flip-flop there. I feel like, depending on how things shake out, legitimately, those top 4 teams have got an opportunity to win a conference title. I think Kentucky Christian's got some really nice ball players coming back. I think they are turning the corner from being a program that's 3-7, 4-6 to being a 6-3, 6-4, 7-3, 8-2 team. Just in the way that they've built that program, and kudos to the coaching staff and the recruits and the guys that have stuck around, because as you know, Pat, we've got to have upperclassmen in the world of NAIA football. If you are not playing with juniors and seniors, and a lot of juniors and seniors on that roster against some of these programs that have been, maybe a little more fortunate or just a little more established, it's going to be tough sledding for you. It's just really tough to do and play the game of NAIA football without experience on your roster.
No doubt. Like you said, the bottom 4 are going to be interesting. Really, the top 4, I don't disagree. And then, kind of conversely, the bottom 4, who's going to be that, 3 or 4, and then how they shake out from there. And I want to know, is Rio Grande going to play the Bison this year, or like Indiana, or who are they going to schedule this year that they have no business scheduling? Because I was really upset about that last year, because I'm rooting for this program. We got another one in Ohio finally, and I want to see them do well, but they need some scheduling help, and I certainly hope that we've got it figured out there.
They do, and new coaching staff in this year, so that certainly is going to help. This year, I mean, their big non-conference game is at Duquesne, so they go Defiance, Lindsey, Wilson, Cumberland's, Duquesne. So, I mean, that's a tough non-conference schedule, but I mean, Duquesne is not,
Duquesne still, they'll be respectful because they're paying them a bunch of money, but they won't score 80 on them. But they're playing Heinz Field, I think, probably. Are they playing Heinz? They'll play on campus. What am I saying? Yeah, they'll play it on campus at Duquesne. Yeah. It's a Pittsburgh school. FCS, their scholarship too. That'd be a good payday. They'll probably get $50,000.
Yeah, no, not terrible.
Anyway, all right, just checking.
Yeah, there we go. So that's our preview of the AAC. We'll come back. We'll maybe have some more conversation on this here in a little bit. Moving forward, we go to the Frontier Conference East Division. Now, the Frontier Conference has not announced their coaches rating. That comes out this week, I believe. So we're just missing out on that. Now, in the East, I don't think there'll be any difference between me and the coaches on 1 and 2. I think Montana Tech will be number 1 with a bullet. You're going to follow that with Dakota State. Then after that, it breaks down. And this is one of those conferences, Pat, where I've got no doubt who my number 1 team in the conference is, being Montana Tech. No doubt who my number 2 team at this point is, being Dakota State in this league. But then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 3, 4, 5, 6, I think you could mix it around a little bit. Unfortunately for MSU Northern, I'm going to pick them last. I think they are going to be 7th in this league again. I mean, it's just a program that's trying to turn the corner and try to do a lot of the right things. But I guess it's one of those, institutionally, they are up against some challenges. And even in the world of, you're playing football in Montana, they're up against some challenges playing, in Havre. You look at the other teams playing in Montana, you're playing in Butte, you're playing in Helena, you're playing in Billings. Havre, I've been to quite a bit, and that should tell you something, because I work in the world of agriculture. So there's not a lot out around Havre when you get up north. But this is my thoughts on this conference. Pat, where do you go?
Well, there's obviously clear one, and they're real good. I mean, I think they're a top, 8 team in the country, in my opinion, at least, if not higher. I love the firepower they have coming back. A lot of experience. I think they're a team. Certainly, we've seen the build the last really 3 seasons of that program. The Orediggers, big fan, love them. From there, I can't really disagree with you. I want to see what Dickinson State can do. Kind of an anomaly year, kind of we talked about a little bit last week. Was that just kind of an odd situation, that because that's been a perennial team, Jason, really since you and I have been involved in the NAIA, and it's always been a playoff type team. Granted, there was a different conference back in those days, but it's always a great program. It's a great facility and a great tradition, and there's a prideful tradition there. So I'm anxious to see what they do. And Valley City, kind of along the same lines. I think it's a great program and tradition as well. So I'm with you. It's interesting to see 2, 3, and 4 who they're going to be. But there's a clear number 1. It's really not even close. You can talk about all the individuals, just tremendous talent. What an environment, what a program. Great coaching staff. I mean, I think the Orediggers have a great opportunity to push for a national championship. And we'll be tested week 1. We talked about it a little bit in our preview last week with the Copper game coming up here in a couple of weeks. So I love this team. I think they're tremendous and are on the national scene without question.
Yeah, talking about the rest of the conference a little bit. This is a conference that I do think is tough to pick. I mean, Dakota State's, I think, the second best team in this conference. But I had a chance to talk with Coach Anderson a little bit preseason wise. And, the big thing for them is they've got to stay healthy. Last year they started the season without their starting quarterback, and they dropped a game early. They've got Trey Heddick healthy coming into the season. If he stays healthy, everybody else stays healthy, you've got a chance to make a run. If you drop some players, you drop some skill positions, things open up after that. You go through this league, and Valley City State, 8 starters back on offense, 8 starters back on defense, including Joey Cave on offense at the quarterback position. Dickinson State, same thing, 7 on offense, 7 on defense. They'll need to have a quarterback develop into a starter. I don't believe they've got anybody returning with any starting experience for them, at the quarterback position. You look at Mayville State, 10 starters back on offense, 7 back on defense. So, I mean, these are all those teams in 3, 4, 5. I had a hard time picking them because you go through, and I think returning starters are something that are just so big in the game of NAIA football, and having that experience back. So makes it tough for me to kind of decide there. So this is going to be an ultra competitive league, I think, for spots 2 through 6. Let's move on. My timer went off. We'll go to Frontier Conference West Division. And again, folks, we're going to go back. We're going to randomly talk about things at the end like we normally do, but we want to get through previewing of the schools here before, we get 2 hours into the program and finally get through everything. I love this division, man. Like, I'm really high on College of Idaho. I've got them number 3 preseason. I've got them at the top of this conference, but they've got to win this league. And just being like the number 3 team in the conference and puffing their chest up and walking out there ain't going to get it done, because Carroll College, Southern Oregon, Montana Western, Eastern Oregon, all dangerous teams. Even Arizona Christian I'll throw in there with head coach Drew Maddox taking over that program. Maybe a little different look and feel from them. This is an uber competitive league, man.
No question. I think maybe the deepest we might talk about tonight, maybe, where I think you have potentially 3, even 4. I'm not saying it's going to happen, obviously, because there's a lot of factors involved in it, but I think playoff quality teams, just looking at it. And I think the big question mark, and again, I'm going to get to the top here. I think Montana Western's really interesting, kind of like we talked about Benedictine, Morningside, Grandview, the teams that are replacing a ton of guys. Same thing with Montana Western. They've been so good with, Palandry and all the talent that they have shown the last handful of years, and have played, the national level. I'm anxious to see what they do in replenishing some of that talent, those key spots, and see where they end up. I love Southern Oregon. I love that coaching staff. Love the program tradition. They've won a national title in this affiliation. They get their bell cow running back, and they've got some depth there because they had to develop it because of those injuries. So I think they're a tremendous program and a great football team coming back this year. I love Carroll College. Carroll College is a bigger blue blood in the NAIA than Carroll College, and you've seen that slow build and rise out of that program. How many years, the last handful of just going back into that national prominence. And then, of course, College of Idaho. I don't disagree with you. I think coming back, they're the team that strikes me as, boy, they got all the pieces, Jason. Physicality, good up front, quarterback play. They got the returners in the key spots that we talk about to win championships. So they really, to me, if I had to pick a team that can dethrone, Grandview potentially, and compete with the Kaisers of the world, those two teams that have been in the national title the last handful of years. To me, it's COI. That's just my opinion watching this team the way I have and what's coming back. So I'm a huge fan of one here, College of Idaho. Don't disagree with you at all. But I'd say 2, 3, 4. And Eastern Oregon's always good, man. I mean, they're always going to be competitive and put a good football team on the field in that great conference. So back to your point, I know I'm kind of bouncing around here. COI has to show up each and every week because I tell you what, it is a gauntlet. You can't, unbuckle your belt and think you got an easy one this week because you can't do it in this league, in this division. There's no doubt.
No, absolutely. And the thing that you look at and why I'm so high on this league and this division, College of Idaho returns their quarterback. Carroll College returns their quarterback. Southern Oregon returns their quarterback. Right then and there, those three teams, you kind of go, oh, okay. Montana Western does not return their quarterback, so they've got to make some replacements there. But around that new quarterback, Eli North, Seth Shook, Jake Humphrey, Aiden Lammers, plus 2 returners on the offensive line in Ethan Larson and Dylan Chrisman, that'll help bolster things there. So you just, you go, oh, man, they got to replace. Yeah, but they got the weapons. They got weapons. They're going to be good. And then Eastern Oregon, kind of the same thing there. Defensive coordinator becomes the head coach. They don't have a lot of starters back on offense. They had such a solid defense last year. So this could be a situation where, maybe a new look on that offense kind of gives them the shot in the arm. Arizona Christian, same thing. A shot from Drew Maddox coming in. We know that Louisiana Christian team he had a couple years ago could score points. Simpson, hey, I want to see them get good and be competitive. I've got to see it with wins on the field, though. So that's where we're at. All right, moving on. We got a lot of people kind of checking in. I'm getting text messages from people. I'm getting people in the comments commenting. We've got NAIA national office members watching. We'll say hi. I'm not going to say who. I don't want to, throw anybody out there. But hey, we appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Oh, I said man. That might be it. That 50% cut right there. All right, Great Plains Athletic Conference. This is a league, I think, of 3 tiers, in my opinion. You've got Morningside, Dordt, Northwestern. 1, 2, 3. I think 1 and 2, everybody's pretty solid on. 3, I think everybody says Northwestern's 3rd best team in this league. So 1, 2, and 3 are pretty solid. Spots 4, 5, 6, 7, and probably 8. And you can see it there in the coaches' rating and my rating. We're jumbling the teams around. So then you've kind of got that middle tier, and then you've got the final tier. So you've got a 3-tiered league here. And the question is, if somebody from that 2nd tier can actually pop up into the 1st tier, there's no doubt everybody's going to be high on Morningside and Dordt. Those are 2 teams that return, a lot of talent, a lot of starters. They've really been able to get themselves into the national picture. Morningside, obviously, for a long time, Dordt has risen to it. Dordt returns 15 total starters, including 9 on defense. 1 and 2, there's no doubt there. But Pat, what are your thoughts on this conference? Do we see Northwestern get a resurgence? Is there somebody from that 2nd tier that comes from out of the clouds?
I'm going to think Northwestern does have that resurgence because, there was some, the ebbs and flows of things. They were a team that, has a great tradition, has been around for a long time, won a national title in the 80s. and then had the resurgence. I want to say 2016, 2017 back in the national scene, back in the playoffs. We'll come to find out they win the national title. And again, the years all run together for me now, Jason. Would have been 2021 they won the national title. In the game in 2022 again. My date's right, my year's right, whatever it was.
Something like that.
Yeah, but they're back in as a national power. Then, the last couple of years have just kind of dropped off a little bit, I think, from a talent standpoint. So, I have tons of faith in that staff doing a great job of recruiting, developing talent. But I think it's a team that has to develop talent. Homegrown, bringing guys in from the high school ranks and developing. You can kind of see that. They had moments last year of doing that. And you can see the young talent being developed and performing well. Just that consistency, dropping a game here and there, but being competitive in some other big games against great opponents. So I'm optimistic about them. And certainly, with the other programs you mentioned, fix your collar there, Jay.
I'm struggling over here, man. All right.
Morningside's going to figure it out. I mean, no matter who's out of the program, they're going to bring somebody in that's going to figure it out. Mainstay of the coaching staff, national power, they're always good, right? Love Dort. Dort is a tough team to prepare for offensively. They play, just stout defense, play swarming defense, attacking style defense are fantastic. So those three, I'm with you on. So I went kind of all over the place, went top to or bottom to top, then middle.
Bottom to top to middle to.
Yeah. Like you said, the next tier, though, Hastings, Midland, Concordia. Concordia has had a great run here recently. Out of curiosity, I guess the coaches have them fourth. You have them sixth. Is there a reasoning behind that in your mind, Jason? Just out of curiosity, compared to the coaches.
No, I mean, I think you can interchange 4, 5, 6 here pretty easily. I feel like what Hastings has got coming back maybe gets them just a little bit higher. They've got 7 back on offense, 5 back on defense. Concordia, they are returning. I'm going through things here. 6 and 6 is what they're returning. They do have a quarterback back. They lose a couple pretty good ball players on that offensive line and defensively as well. So it's tough. It's so tough to say. And then, it's so like, this and this and this, but it's like whoever out of that 4, 5, 6 ranking that I have there, if one of those teams fires off, they could be challenging then for that number 3 spot and potentially making it to the NAIA championship series. So this is a good league. We'll talk more about it here in a little bit. I mean, I want to roll through all these leagues. We'll get back to them. Do want to officially say hi to Steve Wilson, from the NAIA National Office, checking out the show here tonight. We appreciate it. We appreciate the NAIA National Office watching. I'd like to think he's a fan. He might also be watching just to make sure I don't say anything too stupid about the NAIA that he has to respond to in 24 hours. There's distinct possibility of that too. Heart of America Conference North. Gee, this was really tough to pick who I thought would win this. Grandview. I mean, it's anybody not picking Grandview to win this league, like what you're going for clicks at that point. It's just clickbait. Like you pick Grandview has not ever lost this division, and you keep them as the champion until somebody can prove they can actually beat them in the regular season. I follow with William Penn, Peru, then Graceland, Culver, Stockton, St. Ambrose, Clark, and Mount Mercy. Weird. It's like the coaches took my exact rating and went with it, but maybe things just seem that cut and dry coming into the season.
My favorite thing ever is the single votes for William Penn and Peru from the coaches. I wonder who voted for him.
I would bet E.J. Peterson would be one of those first place votes. You got to think
for somebody else. Oh, I think it's their own coaches.
Oh, you think so? I thought some leagues have the rule where you can't vote your team first. So that, and I don't know if the Heart has that rule. I would just think maybe it was Grandview's coach that threw a vote to one of them. And then somebody else out there really, really thinking different.
I like William Penn a lot. We've what's the word the kids say today? My kids are saying glaze. We've glazed Grandview for 3 years, right? Yeah. So I'm going to just skip Grandview. We'll get to Grandview, right? We're going to talk about Grandview all year. We've had, a lot. I'm a big fan of William Penn. Now, what can they do in replenishing some guys that exited the program that were really good football players? Yeah. I thought they're really well coached last year, Jason. They played incredibly hard. They had really good talent. And me personally, in my coaching career, played William Penn a lot. That was the most talented William Penn team I've ever seen by far.
For sure.
By far. And I think they're building something there in Oskaloosa. So I'm anxious to see what they're going to bring back and what they're going to look like in replacing some key spots, some veteran guys, some senior leadership in key spots. So I'm looking forward to that. Peru State had some moments of great things last year. Can they, keep that rolling? Culver Stockton, Graceland, those are all schools that, go compete with the top dog. And I've said this before, and not to beat a dead horse, but it's been a year since I've said it. When the team in your league wins a national title, if your administration really gets it, they're going to do all they can to be competitive. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of that jealousy, if you will, of, hey, that team down the road in our conference won the national title 2 years in a row. Okay, we got to up the ante a little bit here. We got to get real serious about this. And I do think that can happen at all levels of football, and certainly at this level. And look for that. Is it William Penn's time? Is it William Penn's time to take another step? And they did a great job last year. What are we going to see this year? Peru, Graceland, Culver Stockton, never know. And I'm an Ambrose guy. It's Mid-States, old Mid-States team. I'm a big Ambrose guy. It's a great location in the Quad Cities. They can recruit there. Goodness gracious, I think Grandview, half the rosters from the Quad Cities, Jason, those national championship teams.
100%, yeah.
If Ambrose can do a great job and keep those guys, in the Quad Cities at St. Ambrose, that's a traditional power. That's been a great program for a lot of years. So I'm high on them as well. They're getting better.
The thing I look at with William Penn, and as we kind of look at the ratings there, William Penn 2, Peru State 3, William Penn has to replace a quarterback and a really good running back in Des Loring. They've got 9 starters back on the defensive side of the ball. I think that helps them, get through the early portion of the season, helps them get by maybe the bottom half of the conference. Peru State, and Peru State is the same. They're just that enigma for me, Pat. I look at what they've got coming back for starters. I look at the talent that they have. I've seen the flashes from them. And for the last 3 years, I've said, is this the year Peru State gets it done? 6-5 last year, new head coach this year, and Sean Wilkerson, new offensive coordinator as well. Offensive coordinator is Mike Canales, who was the OC at Southeastern University down in Florida. So an interesting coaching dynamic coming into Peru State, and they returned C.J. Dixon at the quarterback position, and he was as dynamic as all get out last year for Peru State. So we'll move on. Let's talk more about some other teams here. Any final thoughts on the Heart North, Pat?
No, definitely one we got to revisit because I think it's interesting because you've obviously got the power, but I think like 2, 3, 4, 5 is really interesting. I agree.
Don't mind me just slowly dying over here and trying to cover it up behind the scenes by muting my microphone, taking a drink, and kicking it over to you there. All right, sorry. Heart Conference South, Heart of America Athletic Conference, South Division. This is, again, a league that is very tough to predict because I think that the easy button is to come in and say, yep, Benedictine, Baker, Mid-American Nazarene, then everybody else. But William Woods is going into year 3. I think they're automatically, you just pick them last until you prove otherwise. Missouri Valley going into another season with an alum as head coach and LaQuinton Black there. Mid-American Nazarene, Baker, both being quality programs, fighting to get into the NAIA Championship Series. And you got Benedictine. Now, we're really high on Benedictine. We've always been high on Benedictine. But offensively, they only returned 2 starters, both of them being wide receivers. Now, they've got some obviously good ball players waiting in the wings because this is a program that is laden with upperclassmen. They've got, when they graduate a senior, he's going to get replaced by a junior or senior in many cases. So there's going to be some experience coming back. There's going to be some veteran presence coming back there. But, this is a league that I think is as much up in the air as any of the leagues in NAIA football this year, Pat.
Yeah, I would agree. I'll start at the top here, obviously, at Benedictine. With all the success they have had, I think Coach Osborne and his staff has done an unbelievable job. Watching the video, the coaching point of view, the former coaching point of view, I think as good a coaching staff as there is, and the way they have prepared for all the challenges that they've faced the last handful of years, just watching, they do a great job. I think they're in consideration, in my opinion, with that staff, as good as anybody, in my opinion, just watching them. As long as Coach Osborne's staff is there, I think the Ravens are in national contention. That's just my opinion. So, think the world of them. So, yes, reloading the talent, like you said, developing players from high school, developing them, from young ages, replacing those veterans, replacing with juniors, like you said, guys that may not have a lot of experience, but have been developed by a great staff. So I'm in total agreement with you with Benedictine. From there, you've got some blue blood programs that have been around for ages that, have got to elevate their game. They've been around a long time. They've been successful, but I don't think have been anywhere near what we're accustomed to seeing from Baker Mid-American, Nazarene, and Missouri Valley. Those are blue blood programs that have proud traditions, and I think they have elements in place to be great once again. But those three right there, I think it's a battle. Who's going to be number two? I just don't see any of them beating Benedictine this year. I know they're replacing everybody. I don't care because I think Benedictine is that type of program. But 2, 3, and 4 on that list right there, they're blue blood programs that I know have proud alumni bases, great coaching staffs, people that those programs matter to. I'm just telling you that I know they want to be successful. There's going to be a commitment from their administrations to be successful. So I'm anxious to see how this thing shakes out.
I just looking at how things shake out here, and we do the comparison of the coaches rating and my rating. The interesting thing I look at, Pat, they've got Missouri Baptist up in number 4, new head coach there, and a first place vote. That would be something to see the Spartans pop up and win the Hart South. Great
location. It's a great spot, man.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful spot in St. Louis. I mean, we played there a few times. They were part of the Mid-States. I'm a huge fan. I mean, it's great area of that. I mean, that's one of those places to me. It's like that place could get really good, location and nice campus. And yeah, there's some elements there, no doubt.
Yeah. You've got Mark Lillibridge taking over as the head coach there. So a lot of things could happen. This is an interesting league, and I wouldn't be surprised. Central Methodist, they're always a team that comes flying out of the clouds about once every 7 years. You can't count them out. William Woods being a new program, you can't count them out. Do have a comment to get to here. Benedictine also brought in a D1 grad transfer quarterback. I try not to talk too much about transfers coming in, but yeah, Patrick Heatert, one of the two, Southeast Missouri State grad or SEMO, whatever you want to call it, played and started some games there, was never their guy, was never like their full-on starter, but did start, I think, 8 games one season or 7 games one season. So we don't want to put too much on the transfers and all that. We're still in camp. And as I had a coach tell me one time, we need to make sure they pass the eye test. I'm like, oh, physically they look good? No, that we literally see them. And that we literally see them at the first game, then they've passed the eye test. So, all right, with that said, let's move on. We'll keep hammering through all the schools, all the divisions, talking about all the leagues. Then we'll come back and we'll hit it again here at the end. KCAC Bissell division. I think this is probably the most competitive. I don't know. We're saying that about every league, aren't we? Oh, it's the most competitive division in NAIA football. But look at this. You got Friends that has been a perennial power. I picked them second behind McPherson. Then you got Kansas Wesleyan and Southwestern there. No offense to St. Mary and Sterling, but you guys are in the wrong division if you want to try to make a run at the title, because those 4 teams right there could be anywhere in the top 25 this year. And I'd go, yeah, that's about right. They could be in the top 10. I'd be, yeah, that's probably about right. It's just so tough to figure out which one's going to be the one that rises to the top. I took a stab this year. I went with McPherson.
Yeah, that's a bold prediction. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Bold move, Cotton.
Let's see who pays off. I'm still not going against Friends. I know Cavante has graduated. I know, I get it. But I'm telling you what, I saw one team defend that offense or that defense. That offense last year defensively. I saw one team. It was Benedictine. Saw one. Yep. The rest of them didn't come close, Jason. I mean, not even close to slowing them down. Yeah. So I'm anxious to see, who can figure it out. I'm a huge fan of the depth of this league. And again, I'm an old NAIA guy just like you are. And, 10 years ago, we'd laugh at this. All the kids. Yeah. Like, come on. No. Yeah. These are legitimate teams. We watch them, Jason. We watch them closely. And Friends was just a juggernaut offensively. I mean, they just outpaced everyone. So good in what they do. But I tell you what, you watch the teams that really couldn't stop that offense that Friends beat last year in this league. They're good football teams too, man. I mean, legit teams. I'm obviously close to the St. Francis situation. I saw Southwestern 2 years ago. I mean, beat a good St. Francis team. I mean, and played well again last year. And Kansas Wesleyan has been good for many, many years. And I thought that was one of the better games We saw last year was it McPherson and Kansas Western last year was a great game if I recall.
Yep, went down to the wire.
Down
K-Dub got the win at the end, and that kind of held McPherson from making the postseason.
I would say this really quick, Jason. My old school, so I am turning 46 here soon. The people my age, NAIA people, don't laugh at this. The Kansas Athletic Conference is a legitimate conference in this affiliation, without question. I'm saying it, and I'm being 100% truthful in saying that. 10 years ago, I laughed. It's legitimate. It's a good, deep conference. And they've evolved in that, and they have upped the ante in their own league. They've got great players, great coaching staffs. These programs are on the rise, and they are legitimate, and they can make a push into the national scene without question. And I'm not joking when I say that.
Yeah, when I started this, the KCAC had not won a game in the postseason like since 1998, and I was trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if anybody did win up until 2010. Somebody did late, like 2009, 2010, something like that, but they finally got a win. And so it was like, ooh, they finally won a game in the postseason. Now the KCAC, both divisions have got quality programs. You talk about leagues that have elevated themselves. This is a league that has definitely elevated itself in the last couple of years. And that comes down to the administration's buying in, and then also the coaches, getting good coaches in there, coaches that want to stick around. I mean, you start looking at the teams that are really good, and hey, their coaching staffs have been around a while. One thing I'd be remiss to say, you've also got two of the best quarterbacks in the NAIA in this division coming back. And I picked his team fourth, Jamie Odom, Southwestern. He's coming back there, and you got Ryan Markarian coming back in McPherson. I've got them picked as the number one team. So this is a uber competitive to uber. That's what I'm saying tonight, by the way. That's my crutch tonight. Uber competitive. But I do really feel like this is a league that could be anybody's league to potentially win. You might be hearing my timer go off in the background. That's to keep us on schedule and try to get through these. Let's go to the Kessinger division. Evangel, they won it last year. They won it the year before. I'm picking them to win it again, but I saw Ottawa with the resurgence last year. I put them second, following with Tabor, Bethany, Avila, and Bethel. Pat, you got anything that's going to upset the apple cart here in your thoughts?
Not really. Obviously, the Bissell division is much stronger. It's deeper. Evangel's a good football team, though. Watched them a little bit last year, in the playoff they qualified for, and really made a great run at winning that playoff game on the road. Tough road environment that they went into, and probably arguably could have won the game. Obviously missed a kick, but anyway, it is a good division. It's not a great division, where I think the Bissell division is a great division in NAIA football. But yeah, it's Evangel's to lose. I would agree with you on that, Jason. But yeah, there's good coaches here, good programs that have been around a long time. But this is a good division, not a great one like the Bissell division.
Yeah, and the thing I look at in this division, like Evangel, great coaching staff, great athletes coming back. They've got some studs coming back on that defense. They've always got, seems like, a high-powered offense. They're going to be really good. Ottawa, a lot of guys coming back, deep program. Coach Nick Davis doing a heck of a job there. You got Mike Gardner at Tabor. He's always going to have something up his sleeve. And that is one of those teams that I truly try not to say anything about until I see him play their first game. Because Coach Gardner seems like he always gets one or two guys into camp that comes out, and you go, where did this guy come from? Then you got Mike Grossner at Bethany. Coach Grossner, we know, coached in a NAI national championship game against you. You follow him up with a guy that was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, Ed Warner, whatever, however you say it. He was at St. Thomas last year.
Warner, yep.
He's at Avila now. So, and then you've got Bethel with just a great sense of pride in their program, wanting to be good too. So this is really one of those leagues too, where it's real easy for us to come into the year and be like, yeah, it's Evangel, maybe Ottawa. Oh, Mikey Gardner, he's going to get something. There's some coaching, there's some staffs, there's some talent in the bottom half of this league that we could see rise up, and I'm all for it. I want to see somebody in 4, 5, 6 year, prove me wrong, go 7-4 this year, 7-3, whatever, 6-4, and go, yeah, all right, look at that. We've got a little bit of a rise again back in the KCAC Kessinger division.
Such a great point, Jason. You're absolutely right. Tremendous coaches in this league. Not to my previous point of just it's not a great division, but it's like Coach Warner just got there, just started, but he's a great football coach. Obviously made a pretty substantial living doing this for a long time. And I personally went against Coach Gardner for many years. I tell you what, there was never a week that I enjoyed that preparation. Fantastic football coach. So I'm with him. Coach Grossner is tremendous. Again, played against him many times in the playoffs and a national championship game in 2016. So, I'm totally on board with what you're saying. And like you said, I mean, who knows? Those teams that, from where we see preseason, maybe in the bottom half of that division, great coaching staffs, great, individuals leading those programs can make those programs rise very, very quickly. I would not be surprised to see one or even two possibly doing that this season.
I love it. I love that we can be competitive. Pat, there was many years there where it just felt like, you could kind of figure out who was going to win the league wherever it was in the NAIA for years and years. And we're so competitive. We're so deep. We've got so many teams that can do it this year. And this league, I think, is going to be evidence of that. So we'll dive back more into the KCAC Kessinger as the season rolls on here. And just like that, we roll on to our next conference. All right, man. This was the league that when I was doing the previews, I was like, man, throw a dart. Because we're high on Lindsey Wilson. Lindsey Wilson's got a ton of talent returning, great coaching staff. They've got Max Gainey, wide receiver, Tate Rice at quarterback, Devontae Saunders at the running back position. He's got Stephen Mack in the backfield with him as a tandem, Larry Montgomery. But then you go down the list, and then you got Georgetown. And Georgetown's going to have a new quarterback this year. I'm aware of who the transfer is and where he came from. So they could be right there. And then you've got Darius Neal back in their backfield there as well. Campbellsville with a bunch of returning starters, a new head coach in Hunter Brown, but they return 8 on the offensive side of the ball, 3 on the defensive side of the ball. Cumberland is one of those teams that they're just nasty at home. And if they get some wins on the road, man, they could be right there. They've got 9 offensive starters returning and 9 defensive starters returning. University of the Cumberlands, it's just kind of the last couple of years been out there waiting in the wings, and they returned 10 guys on offense as well and 4 on the defensive side of the ball. Then you got Faulkner, who started making a resurgence last year, man. Like this is a team that returns 8 starters on offense, 4 on defense, and Dane Brown's going into his second year. And then you've got Bethel, who has a ton of talent. Coach Chris Springer is a heck of a recruiter. They've got 7 defensive starters back. This is a league that I have close to zero confidence in how I think it will actually turn out. I think Lindsey Wilson is the safe bet at 1, and then throw darts after that.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you. I think Lindsey Wilson's got the elements returning and what they've accomplished thus far. To be the top dog, in my opinion, incredibly talented and well coached. Love the offense. I'm actually Coach Perrin in year 2 at Georgetown, and again, a blue blood, traditional power at Georgetown. They've got some great elements there and a great location, great facility, all the things you need to be successful. And having Coach Perrin there year 2 to see how he's going to build this thing with his vision there, I'm anxious to see how that goes. In Campbellsville, a new staff, so that's going to be the question mark for me. And again, one of my favorite, week 0 matchups is Campbellsville and my St. Francis Cougars in Campbellsville. So I'm looking forward to that a lot to see where those two teams are. So I think we'll be very telling where Campbellsville is in that first game of where they are against St. Francis. So, and like you said, Cumberland, Tennessee, we talked about them a lot last week, if you remember, Jason, because they're playing St. Thomas, I believe, week 1 in Central Tennessee, correct? I'm anxious to see how that's going to go too, because they're, like you said, they're a team that seems to knock off a power every year, a big time program, but just again sustaining it, consistency in that regard to be a team in the national scene is kind of what they've lacked the last handful of years. And I'm a huge Housekeeper fan. Hate to try to figure out how to block him for one back in the day, and certainly as a football coach going against him is a tremendous football coach. And the Cumberlands is kind of always there. When's the year going to be when the Patriots really break through and get into the playoffs and, maybe win this league or at least get an at-large bid? And I think it can happen any year because I think he's that type of football coach and runs a great program. So it's interesting. And Faulkner with their location, Jason, in, great football territory, you never know what can happen in Faulkner. We haven't played against those guys in a few years, but back in the day when we did, holy moly, Jason, what talent from the South. So in Bethel College, what's going on there, man?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things like, and Coach Springer, he's smart. He's got some talented recruits coming in. he's got a lot of guys that can make some things happen in that program, and we just don't know a lot about him. So that's why I put him 7th. I mean, I think if the Mid-South has a media day and I were to listen into that and listen to all the coaches, I could completely change this rating like at the drop of a hat. And then after seeing them all play after week 1, change it again and then change it again. I think it's going to be a league that spots, and my gut tells me spots 2 through 7 are really up for grabs. And Lindsey Wilson, somebody's going to have to beat him to convince me otherwise. But this is a league that is very deep this year. And it's the only league that I could say the team I'm picking last, if they made the postseason, I would not be shocked. Any other league that we've talked about, Pat, the team I've picked last, if they made the postseason, I'd go, whoa, what happened there? This league, not so much. I think they're pretty solid across the board. Let's head into your home area, the Mid-States Football Association Mideast Division. Here you see how I've got things ranked to start things off versus the coaches, and we're pretty close on everything. I've got Indiana Wesleyan winning this league, and of course, they've been the cream of the crop of this division. They're going to have to compete against the University of St. Francis for the first time this year as the Cougars come over to the division to go up against IWU. 10 starters returning for the Wildcats on the offensive side of the ball. But St. Francis, not to be outdone, they've got 9 back on offense, 8 back on the defensive side of the ball as Adam Sherman goes into his second year in the helm after going 10-3 last year. Then you've got Taylor with 9 starters back on offense, 8 back on defense. On the offensive side of the ball, a great offensive line to block for Nathan Parker, one of the best running backs in the NAIA. So those top 3 teams right there, I think that's as solid as it could potentially come in the NAIA. Defiance is improving each and every year. Lawrence Tech now in the second year of a new head coach there. And Madonna, they finally get a win last year, and I felt like Madonna was a lot more competitive in games last year. They're going to improve. So really good league. But I think that there is a definite separation between your top 3 and your bottom 3 right now.
No question. I'm going to start with the bottom 3. I'm rooting for Madonna. It's great to see them get their first program win. We talked about 1,000 times, worst time ever to start a program. Horrible luck during COVID. Great to see they're improving. Hopefully that continues. Nice campus, good area outside of Detroit, lovely place. Lawrence Tech, kind of just needs some sustainability with coaching staff. So I'm looking forward to what they have. What a great school. And again, what an opportunity for them, in an engineering school near Detroit. Not all bad. Great football community there. So, and Defiance is interesting to me, Jason. I've talked about it. It's if they can figure out this whole NAIA thing coming from Division III, Northwest Ohio, it's about an hour from Fort Wayne, about an hour from Toledo, to kind of put in perspective on the map. Unbelievable recruiting base from a high school football standpoint with scholarships. And I hate to bring it up, but you also have schools across the border to their north, NAIA schools that close down and don't have football anymore. Siena Heights and Concordia. So that's all within that recruiting area that I think is interesting for Defiance. And I think they want to be good in athletics, Jason. So that's an interesting place for me that I hope to see them, continue to rise up, the ranks in the NAIA and in this conference. And I think they certainly can because in their backyard is great talent. And then to my alma mater, the place I worked for 18 years, and my dad started the program, St. Francis. I think they're going to be really strong on defense. I think they've got some really good players coming back on defense. You got to figure out the quarterback position. I know they've had transfer. I know they've got some youth in the position. I think they're still trying to figure that position out. They're still here in the middle of camp, but the Campbellsville game is right around the corner. They're an interesting team to me. Yeah, I think it truly will be Taylor, St. Francis, 2 and 3, no question. Be a great battle with those two because they've got some returning players, returning elements. In the quarterback question mark for me at St. Francis is going to be interesting. Taylor, for me, is this the year they can do it? Can knock off a St. Francis, can knock off potentially their rival down the street with Indiana Wesleyan and get into the playoffs. They've been so close. They had an injury bug last year. I thought they were really great the first 2/3 of the season and really just got beat up at the end of the year. It's kind of the nature of how they play. Don't have a ton of depth, not a big roster necessarily, but I think they're a good football team and well coached. Indiana Wesleyan's a really good team, Jason. What tells me they're the best, not only with the Lothie kid coming back, the talent they have returning in the skill positions, they got returning guys back in the offensive defensive lines. We talked about it last week. I mean, my goodness, Jason, your top 99 was there 3 offensive linemen, I think, for Indiana Wesleyan coming back. I mean, you start there, Jay. That's the way to go if you want to have an opportunity to have a great season. If you have anchors coming back with experience up front on both sides of the line of scrimmage, pretty good starting point. So I'm spot on with you here. Totally agree.
Yeah, you got 4 or 5 guys back on the offensive line, and you were a top 10 team in the NAIA last year. You can replace a lot of skill positions having that beef up front, having those guys getting it done. And you're not replacing, you're replacing some skill positions. You got Isaac Smith, who was a great wide receiver last year. He has graduated from the program. But yeah, you got Ryan Whitwell back at running back. You've got a great tight end in Simon Vincent, Drew Dutton at wide receiver, Braxton Myers at wide receiver. I mean, you could go on and on. I think we're in that. We say Indiana Wesleyan, this is their league to win. Somebody's going to have to come up and show that they can beat IWU. But then I like St. Francis and Taylor after that to potentially make the NAIA championship series and win a lot of really good ball games this year. Let's go to the other side of the Mid-States, to the Midwest division, and quality group here. Apparently, coaches completely disagree with me on my number one, as I picked St. Xavier to win this league. They did not even give them a first place vote. But I do have a lot of confidence in the Cougars. 6 guys back on offense, 7 on the defensive side of the ball. They did finish up technically 8-3 last year. I just don't see St. Xavier being a team that's down and out of the postseason year over year. So I think they rise back this year. Marion got a lot of quality football players coming back as well. They returned 5 on offense, 6 on defense. They do graduate a quarterback, a great running back, and a great wide receiver. That's why I've got Marion down in my number 2 position. Olivet Nazarene, 8 back on offense, 3 back on defense. And I think the thing that was the Achilles heel of this program last year was their defense. They gave up points. They could score points. They didn't necessarily stop a lot of people. So sometimes it's good to graduate on defense, but you got to have something coming back there to help you out a little bit. University of St. Francis, Illinois, the Saints, not a lot back on offense. They technically on their survey said 0 starters back, even though they do have some key returners. 5 guys returning on the defensive side of the ball for head coach Joe Curry. Judson, they go into the second year in the head coaching career of Sean Flynn, who went 1-10 last year. Not a lot back on offense or defense for them. And then St. Mary of the Woods, they're a program that you can say returns starters. They've got 4 back on offense and 5 back on defense, but that is from the sprint program days. This is their first year in the NAIA, and the coaches agreed with me putting them last in the league. Pat, your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely agree with the bottom 2, certainly. St. Francis, Illinois, it's kind of an interesting program. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think Coach Curry's a good coach, been there a long time now. The staff's been there a long time. They can pull some talent, Chicagoland area and the west side there. They can get guys, no question. I'm a big Olivet guy. I'm a big fan. I would probably flip-flop. I'm going to pick Marion to win the league.
Yeah.
And I would probably go with the coaches and say Olivet over St. X. But I think that's going to be a great game. That could be a down-the-wire, last-second kick, one side or the other, for that game. Wishful thinking is, of course, I'm a Coach Feminist and Coach Yandel fan. I love those guys. They're like my dear friends, St. X, I'd love to see them back into national prominence. So that's part of, I guess my unbiased. I'm very biased. I like those guys. So, yeah, and I love Coach Karras at Marion too. But I think Marion's the best team. That's my opinion, just because of what they have returned. They lost some guys, but I think they're hungry from kind of weird situation last year in the postseason. I think they're gonna have a strong group coming back. They're good up front, and I think all of that. Drew Reed's a player, Jason. I think he's going to be one of the best guys in the NAIA at the quarterback position. We highlighted him last week. I think he's going to be a strong player for the Tigers of Olivet.
No, I don't like the coaches. I think, that rating makes sense. I think that rating absolutely makes sense for them. This one makes sense for me. You can make arguments that Olivet Nazarene could win this league, and you wouldn't have me going, "What are you talking about? You're an idiot." Like, no, they've got some really good ball players coming back. I think they've got to figure it out on defense if they're going to take the step in this league to potentially win it. You can't give up 20, 30 points a game. You can't let Marion go up and down the field on you. And those two played a great game last year. And then you can't get yourself in a situation in a cross division game or a non-conference game, you're in a 52-50 shootout again. You know, you've got to try to put some teams away, and you're only going to be able to do that if you improved your defense. I love this league. I'm like you, man. There's a lot of good coaches in this league, man. And that's what makes covering NAIA football so fun. And there's a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of good dudes out there just coaching football because they freaking love football. And that's why I love this league. Love those guys. All right, let's go to the Sooner Athletic Conference. It's easy to put Ottawa, Arizona up top. I mean, they did win the league last year, but they did not get the automatic qualification. Texas Wesleyan got that. Louisiana Christian, I've got picked second, followed by Texas Wesleyan. Wayland Baptist at 4, Langston 5, Oklahoma Panhandle State 6, 7 for Nelson, 8 for Texas College, and Arkansas Baptist 9. My confidence level in this league isn't great. I'll just say it very bluntly. I sent out surveys to get back from coaches. This was the league I had the fewest amount of responses from, so it's tough to see on paper where they've got people coming back. And I'm going to be honest. I think some of the teams that I didn't get surveys from, I probably wouldn't get a lot of information from them too, what they got coming back, because they like to keep things a little close to the vest. Get out to that first game to kind of see what they really have. But I do think Ottawa, Arizona is the best team in this league. I think they're deep. I do know that they obviously have to replace some starters on offense, but they're going to be good again. And I believe Luke Guerin actually is back at the quarterback position this year for Ottawa. I think my insider information told me that, honestly. We'll know that for sure coming down the road. Maybe I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. Skip that.
Know. Are you?
I don't know. I did.
It's a live show. We're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and I'm too lazy to go back and edit that out. So I could be wrong, folks. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke here. I'm picking Ottawa to win the league. I put Louisiana Christian second. I think they made leaps and bounds with that program last year after they made the postseason. Head coach change. Ben McLaughlin comes in as the alum, kind of has the year putting together the program the way he wants it. They have a great season last year. They go 8-3. They return 10 starters on offense, 8 on defense. They've got what they need to try to win this league, Pat. And Texas Wesleyan is right there too, with Fran Johnson taking over as the head coach for the Rams. I mean, Texas Wesleyan, they returned 6 on offense, 5 on defense, but I think they've got some recruits that are coming in that are really going to help bolster that run game. And when Texas Wesleyan is good, and when we've seen Texas Wesleyan be at their best, they're running the ball as good as anybody in the league. Then you've got Wayland Baptist. They're a program that also returns quite a few starters as well. They're going to be quality. Langston, new head coach there. Oklahoma Panhandle State, we know they're a tough team, and they play a tough brand of football there. So there you have it. Pat, you're reaching for things there. What's going on, buddy?
You know what, buddy? I left my charger in the other room, so I had my son bring it to me. Sorry about that, everybody.
Was he crawling underneath there, like Army crawling in to bring it?
He's good. He's a hockey player. He dove in here real quick. So we've got 11 days until the Spirit do battle in the Copper game with Montana Tech. To me, that tells you everything, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about last week, how are they going to show Ottawa, Arizona? Are they going to go and make this a dogfight game? Can they win this game? Is it a close game, or do they get the doors blown off them? I don't know. I really don't know. I know Montana Tech's a really good team, but for them as in the Spirit to tell me what type of program they are, if they are truly, again, I think they're going to win the league too. I don't disagree with you at all. But to tell me that they are a team that is deserving of a postseason and can be in the national scene, that's going to tell me a lot. And I think you hit this last week, Jason. I think almost your exact words is like, they can't go up there and get blown out. They got to show something going up to Montana Tech and be competitive, and that will kind of give us an idea of what this team is really like. And then going down the list there, Louisiana Christian just kind of had since Coach, who's now at in Arizona.
Drew Maddox.
Coach Maddox, big fan of his. Well, he did a great job. And since he's left, it's just kind of trying to figure out, getting that thing back. When he was there, man, what a program. So, I'm anxious to see, if they can get that back now with some consistency with the new coaching staff, like you mentioned.
You went 8-3, so can you do it again?
Absolutely. Texas Wesleyan. Remind me, is this the last year for them in the NAIA?
I'm honestly not 100%, dude, because I thought it was, and then I read some stuff, and I'm like, okay, no, that reads like they've got 2 more years before they're joined the Lone Star. So we know for sure they're playing NAIA this year. It's the fall of 2027 that I question a little bit. I originally thought it was a no, but I could be wrong. While you talk, I'll Google Texas Wesleyan Lone Star.
Texas Wesleyan is interesting to me. I thought Texas Wesleyan 2 seasons ago, who lost the playoff game to Benedictine, if we recall, a very, very good Benedictine team, I thought was on the rise to be, I think even last year, Jason, our prediction show, I was talking Texas Wesleyan being the top 10, top 8 type team. And it did not happen last year. I mean, I just didn't see it. I don't know what all the details were. There's obviously some change at the top, but at the same time, I just didn't see that team that was on the rise like I anticipated being a team on the national scene. So I'm anxious to see what they're doing, and they have plans of going to Division II. And you're in that location, you got to get it figured out because there's more players and 100-mile circle than maybe anywhere. So with that being said, I'm anxious to see what they do. The other schools in Oklahoma and Texas is going to be obviously very interesting. Can some of these other schools that really haven't done very well, can they get it figured out? And I think the thing is with all of them, they're in a location where if there's a commitment to it, they can figure out a way to do it, whether it's scholarshiping, whether it's commitment from their administrations. Can they go in the junior college ranks? Can they go into the portal, whatever it may be, and find a way to get guys? They can make some noise if they can figure out, bringing in talent, find a way to acquire that talent. So it's going to be interesting. And this league, like we've talked about, is on the rise. It's very, very interesting. Is this the Sun Conference? I think very much the infant stages, like we talked about the Sun Conference years ago. But, location, recruiting base, there's opportunity here. But now let's make it happen on the national scene. Can we see it happen?
So reading press releases here, going back to our thought, Texas Wesleyan would continue competing in the NAIA through the 2027-2028 academic year and begin Division II competition 2028-2029. That's what the press release says. I don't know how you do that. You've already been accepted into the Lone Star, so why it wouldn't start next year, especially with Texas A&M Texarkana adding football, and I think their first year playing football will be next fall. So it seems to me you'd want to get in that league, but hey, I don't know. I'm not that smart. For people that have got questions, drop questions into the comments now. We're getting ready to kind of wrap up our conference preview, and we'll go roundabout through this whole thing again after we've kind of given the proper love to everybody that is in the world of NAIA football. One thing I do have to say, I'm not a fan of Oklahoma Panhandle State, but Oklahoma Panhandle State is a team that's near and dear in my heart. Last year of me playing college football, played a road game at Oklahoma Panhandle State, and having been there, seen the facility, seen the drive to OPSU, man, you want those guys to have a year and get things done, because not much out there except football. Let's move to the Sun Conference, Pat. This one I'm excited about. We have got some of the best programs in NAIA football at the top of this league. You've got a lot of talent in the middle of this league. There's a lot of things that could happen here. And again, I think you'd be a fool to have anybody but Kaiser as your number one. Then after that, I picked St. Thomas. Then you go Southeastern Florida Memorial. You could easily interchange 2, 3, and 4. You got Weber International, a program that each and every year is a solid program. Warner has been on the rise. Ave Maria has shown in the past that they've got it done. Now, Thomas, a little bit different style school. It's tough to have them picked anywhere but the bottom of this league. But they're competitive, and they play hard. This is a good league, Pat. This is a really good league.
Yeah, incredibly athletic, incredibly fast, great facilities. They got some tradition now with Kaiser accomplishing what they have now up until this point. It's going to be a struggle for a lot of these teams, I think, to overtake Kaiser just because of what they've established and the recruiting base that they've brought in. And Coach Russ has done such a great job, and I got to give him a ton of credit. Just briefly, just kind of reiterating what he talked about a couple seasons ago in our interview, that he is embraced. He's a young coach, embraced the new age of college football. He's going to bring in talent that may be overlooked out of high school and bring them into his program at Kaiser and give them a chance to develop. And if they have an opportunity to move on, they do. And he's okay with it in a relative sense, but it's kind of part of his recruiting pitch. And they have guys that have done that, Jason, and made it to the highest levels. But I tell you what, man, what a program, what talent. You can never count out the Seahawks, in my opinion. I am incredibly excited for Drew Davis and the pedigree there. Obviously, being around legendary coach his entire life, that's going to be an opportunity for him and to take that great program over. I'm excited where they're going to go under his leadership. So that's going to be really cool to see. I think Southeastern's really interesting, Jason, because I'm a big fan of the Campbellsville program over the past few years, and that seems like a seamless transition with that staff going down to Southeastern and just keeping a good thing going. Obviously, some systematic changes and things of that nature that have to get ironed out and taught and established, and obviously familiarity. But I tell you what, man, coaches can coach and can teach and get things done quickly. And I think that transition happened right after the season, Jason. So they had a full spring too as well, correct? It happened in the wintertime, if I'm not mistaken, that change. Because then Coach Wall resigned right after the football season, if I remember correctly. Yep. And so, I think from a standpoint of, familiarity and all that, that's been established. So I think that program has, had that transition now to the new coaching staff. And remind me the coach's last name. My goodness, Jason, I'm getting old and I forget those names. From Southeastern, that was it.
From Southeastern, yeah, it's Jake Russell.
Jake Russell, thank you, good man. Yeah, he's a heck of a football coach. Love what he does offensively, and I think it's going to be a seamless transition because he has all that speed. My goodness, so athletic down there. So I'm looking forward to what they do at Southeastern. I think it's going to be. Again, a very smooth transition. And then the rest of these schools, Jason, what are you going to get? I mean, again, it's very similar like what we said about the Sooner Athletic Conference is there's a great location. I mean, again, there's talent all over the state of Florida. Can they figure it out? Can they get the talent necessary to bring it in? Some of the schools have a different model. Ave Maria is a very strict Catholic school, almost a nationwide recruiting base that they go from and bringing kids in that fill a certain niche that they're looking for. Again, it's a great place, cool place. And Thomas kind of along the same lines at some level. But, can get it done, certainly, and have had moments. So it's going to be interesting league.
I would almost describe this league as, Kaiser, defending champion. Somebody's got to prove otherwise. You put them at 1. St. Thomas, maybe. Southeastern, maybe. Florida Memorial, they got the components to do it. They could do it. Weber International, that's my surprise team. 7 back on offense, 7 back on defense, including a quarterback and a running back on the offensive side of the ball. I think having a couple key skill positions back from a team that went 5-6 last year gives you some opportunities to maybe surprise some people. And they could potentially do it. I think Weber could be that potential surprise team this year. Warner has got 9 back on offense, 8 back on defense. They did go 2-8 last year. So it's hard for me to say, okay, having 9 and 8 back from a 2-8 team, all of a sudden you're going to have this big jump, but it is possible. So there is some talent in this league. There's some schools in this league that, they care about football. They want to be good. They've got a good recruiting base. They could make it happen, man. But it's one of those, it's yet to be seen, and we want to see it happen. So that's our preview of the Sun Conference. I didn't say much about Kaiser specifically, and that's because, Kaiser 12-1 last year. I think Coach Russ and his staff, Coach Davila, Coach Nolkin on the offensive side there, those guys do a great job. They've got some talent back on offense, pretty good offensive line. They lost a ton of guys. But they, that there's guys waiting in the wings there, and we just don't know who they are yet. And that's why I get so excited in the fact that we're wrapping this show, Pat, up. Pat up. Am I having a stroke? Pat, we're wrapping this show up here in a little bit. That means our next show is week 1 preview or week 0 preview. We're actually talking about the games that are happening. And not just this, this could happen. What about this? And this guy's back. No, we've actually got real football about to happen, man. And that's awesome. And so going back to my Kaiser thought, that's why I'm not saying a lot about Kaiser. I want to get into the game. I want to get into the season. I want to get into the weeks over the weeks. And then we see, all right, here now we've seen some film. Look at these dudes. Or maybe not look at these dudes. But That's what we got going, man. So that is the official conference preview of all the conferences in the world of NAIA football. If you've got questions, drop them in the comments. Apparently, for some of you that have my cell phone number, text them to me too, because we can do that. Uh-oh, lost my focus doing that. Look at that. I'll get it back here eventually. We got to do this and then back away slowly so the camera does the whole thing. Whatever. I'm out of focus. You talk, Pat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great job. I thought it was fantastic. Again, I'm for the most part pretty close to what your predictions were. For the most part, I had a couple variations, but yeah, it's going to be another exciting year. And there's a lot of, I would say this, Jason, like we talked about a little bit last week too, and reiterated to some level. And again, we didn't glaze the top traditional powers kind of because we want to give the others their due to some level. Look at that.
There you go. I was talking about Oklahoma Panhandle State. That photo was taken in Goodwell, Oklahoma, baby.
There you go. Well, you look good there.
Look at that goatee.
Handsome fella.
That's my brother. And, of course, my dad and my mom. There you
go. Yeah.
All right. Enough reminiscing.
But I was saying, what was I saying?
I don't know. I'm just glad I could distract you.
No, you're good. EDD coming through here. Yeah, we were talking. Those teams that are kind of on the rise, it's going to be interesting because like those traditional powers, there's so much turnover. The quarterbacks that have left, from Benedictine to Montana Western to Morningside. I mean, there's a lot of question marks in some of those key spots. Now we know they're going to replenish that talent, great staffs, great coaches. We can get all that traditional powers, but there's going to be some things that are going to be fun to see early season of how they figure that out. And some of these programs that do have some returning players may not be always your traditional power. So there's interesting storylines that we can wait to see how they play out. And, some week zero. I hate that week zero thing. I hate saying it.
It's just week one. It's week one.
Stupid.
Either you played week one or you didn't play week one.
Yeah.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, whatever. But here in a couple of weeks, right? 2 weeks. We 2 weeks away.
Yeah, they're about 2 weeks away. Hey, I just actually pulled up the old Instagram. Had people commenting. Yes, we've done the GPAC. Yes, we've done the Appalachian. See if we got any questions or comments here. But yeah, I mean, you figure from this day, like in a week, we're talking football, and in a week and a half, we have football. I mean, how great is that? The fact that we got some Thursday night NAIA football happening, I love it.
Now, Jason, do we have games the 27th?
Yeah, we've got Thursday night games.
Oh yeah, week and a half. Yeah, so week from Thursday coming. Yeah, okay.
Because that is Ottawa and Montana Tech play on that Thursday night, and I will be at that game.
Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm a physical calendar guy. I got to see the calendar laid out. Like you can tell me a date. Mm-hmm. Well, you can tell me today is the 16th, but you can tell me that, and I can't figure that out. But look at the calendar. A week from this Thursday is our first games. Week 0 starts on the 27th. So exciting time.
Yeah. And that Thursday night, you've got Reinhardt at Lindsey Wilson, Marion at UIndy, Kentucky Wesleyan at Kentucky Christian, Union at Cumberland, Dickinson at Midland, Northwestern at Western Illinois, Valley City State at Southwest Minnesota State, Central Oklahoma against Texas Wesleyan, St. Thomas at Cumberland. You've got Taylor at Olivet Nazarene. These are all the Thursday games, man. Pikeville at Arkansas Baptist, Louisiana Christian goes to Northwestern State, Graceland at William Penn, MSU Northern at Carroll, Ottawa, Arizona at Montana Tech, and then Rocky and the University of Mary playing in Glendive, Montana at Perham Field in Glendive. So kind of a halfway point for an NAIA school to play a Division II school. That's an interesting game in and of itself there. The fact that the Division II wasn't like, nope, you got to come to Bismarck and play. We're actually going to meet in Glendive, Montana to play that game.
I know nothing about Glendive, Montana.
Well, I do.
I'm sure you do.
That there's going to be a college football game, 2 4-year colleges playing a football game there. That's it's going to be something. Going to be something. First thing I did was go check out like the facility, the overview. It's like, oh, okay, they've got a legit football stadium there. They're not going to be playing this in a pasture or something like that. So that'll be good.
Do they grow wheat there? Is that how you know about Glendive?
Yep. Yeah, they got wheat out there. It's wheat country. It's a lot more cattle country than anything in that part of Montana. But it is typically a drier area of Montana, so it's a little tougher. It's growing season, a lot more cattle, a lot more ranching, that sort of thing in that general area. But yeah, you do get a little more wheat. You got corn, beans, all that sort of stuff there. But
These
that's
are
the difference.
all things I'm an expert in, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, they're rolling on wheat harvest out there for sure right now. They already got that going.
It's exciting.
For those of the Southerners out there, we are a spring wheat group up here in the North Dakota, Montana area. We are not a winter wheat group. You guys harvested back like in May and June. We're just doing it now. All right, sorry. Back to football. I was going to throw it to you there, Pat, but I don't know if you got anything to.
I got
just
nothing.
Derailed this entire thing is what.
No, you're good. Got nothing. But yeah, it's exciting time. I mean, week 0 is jam packed. I mean, I will say this, and again, kind of we've talked about this before. We've done a great job. We NAI teams, supporters, everything. It's been awesome. The games that have been scheduled early season, I think it's been fantastic. And you've been beating the drum for a long, long time for that. Do you remember years ago, Jason? I'm sure you do. I mean, you've got an unbelievable memory, better than mine. Week 1 games, I'm not going to say week 0 because week 0 didn't exist 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're awful games, typically. You may get like the NAI crossover to a Division 3 or to an FCS or even Division 2 every once in a while. But rarely was it like a key marquee matchup, NAI versus NAI, right? Didn't see it very often, especially, cross country or cross conference type battle, nothing with like national implications to it. Typically we didn't see it very often, but we see it all the time now. I mean, it's really cool. And I love seeing it. And it seems to me even as well, even outside the NAI to Division 2 matchups are cool. Like Marion UIndy's a good game because I don't think UIndy's quite what they've been the last couple of years. Tons of turnover. They're kind of the traditional, conference champion in that league. And they're actually moving leagues here in a couple of years. I think this is their last year in that league. They're moving to I can't keep track of all the names, but I think Marion's going to be much more competitive this season. That was a juggernaut UIndy team last year. So with that being said, that's an interesting game to me. I want to see Northwestern and Western Illinois. I think that's interesting to me. There's a lot of matchups that are pretty cool. And then of course you have like the national type game with the Copper game, for instance, with a St. Francis Campbellsville matchup. I think that's cool to see. And there's others that I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure we've discussed that are great on the scheduling of the athletic departments to make happen. Obviously, Benedictine Morningside has now become a traditional rival non-conference that happens every year now. So, I mean, how cool is that? And that's something we didn't always see back in the day, Jason. So kudos to the NAI athletic departments and coaching staffs to make it happen.
No, if there was a great week 1 game, it usually was in the conference. I mean, you go back in the day, and granted, the KCAC isn't playing out of league right now, but like they for sure, like every week was a KCAC game. The Heart was the same way. There wasn't a lot of non-conference coming out of the Heart. The Mid-South, the Sun didn't exist, and the Mid-South was a giant conference. Essentially, the AAC and the Sun have been sprung out of what the Mid-South Conference was years ago, as those as those leagues and their traditional conferences have gotten enough for football. So we didn't see a lot of that travel, and I do think that the IQ of the athletic departments and not so much even the athletic departments, but the presidents and the guys pulling the strings, they're starting to understand it makes sense for Dort to go to Indiana Wesleyan and play, because that's a non-conference game that could help us potentially as we try to make it to the postseason. Before, it's like, well, why doesn't Dort go play Drake? Or why don't they play Buena Vista? Or let's see if we can get a Division II game against MSU Mankato or something. Like, that was the mentality back in the day. And now I think, the coaching staffs have always gotten it, but the administrations and the presidents are able to understand now, like, hey, us playing one of those teams, that unless they're throwing a pile of money at us that's going to help our program, that does us no good. Let's go give our kids an experience. Let's go play in Marion, Indiana at Indiana Wesleyan against a top NAI team with a great program and try to elevate ourselves at this level. And then the other thing to go with that too, Pat, I think there's a lot of teams back in the day, especially talking mid-2000s, early 2010s. There's a lot of toe dippers. A lot of the teams that are in the NAI right now, At some point, they took the toe and they dipped it in the D2 water to say, should we try to go? Or even in the D3 water, dip their toe, maybe went and played one of those teams non-conference and then made the decision for one reason or another not to make the move to one of those divisions. And I think we've got fewer toe dippers now. I think everybody kind of knows what it is. And I think in the current, and now I'm getting off on a tangent, I think the current state of the NCAA is having a lot of teams out there, pump the brakes a little bit, take their foot off the gas, put it on the brakes and go, we're pretty happy where we're at right now. This good division that we've got, this good league that we're in. Why would we make a change? Why would we make this crazy change? So I've gone off on a tangent, but talking scheduling, kind of getting back to that. Yeah, we've got a lot of great games that are out there in the world of NAIA football that we'll get to preview next week.
I just took a look at it. The Dordt-Iowa game is actually Friday night in Marion, Indiana, which is kind of cool. Friday night. So I'm looking to sneak down there. We'll see what my hockey schedule is like. I think we actually have practice that night. Unfortunately, anyway. We'll have to go see that game, though. Gotta be dead. But, yeah, that's going to be a cool game, too. Yeah, very, very cool. Love seeing these schedules. Love seeing again, venturing out and seeing these game scheduled. Very cool.
No, I absolutely love it, and I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks. So with that said, that's done with our talk about NAIA football. Pat joined the stream roughly 1 minute before we went on. I have gone out of focus again for some reason, and we might get it back here. But with that said, Pat, we're officially in the world of overtime. Oh, my God, what is happening here? We're in overtime. What do you got for me, man? I'll try to get back in focus. What's been going on in the life of Pat Donnelly?
Busy time of the year for what I do career-wise, obviously with fall sports and winter ordering and things of that nature. So busy. And then, hockey season is officially kicked off and some travel. And so, it's been good, though. And then some football getting rolling here. This is really my favorite time of the year with football season. There he is. Look at those blue eyes. There you go.
I feel like I get faded out here, and I feel like I'm on like one of those documentaries where they're blurring me. It's like changing my voice, talking about NAIA football. Well, back in 2006. Anyway, sorry.
No, just really just busy. But it's great to get to talk with you. And next week might get a little interesting. I might be pulling in the old driveway about 6:55 from Ohio, but we'll make it happen. I'm going to be ready to roll and talk about these games. And, no games that have been played, obviously, this time next week, but certainly preview of week 0, I'm going to say it. But, man, just some big time juggernaut type week 0 games. So, it'll be a lot of fun. No Pittsburgh trip this year, so I'm not going to make my way out there, unfortunately. I usually do my annual show for week 1 or actually post week 0 into week 1 for my buddies, elaborate study there. I'm not going to do it this year. We're not making the trip out there. We're actually going to go out there to play later in the year, so we're going to kind of make the trip out a little bit later in the year. But anyway, we'll be here in Indiana. So
I've got the crazy week happening. I've got to go back to Nebraska Thursday night after work. Be there Friday, Saturday, drive back here Sunday. We'll do our show Sunday night. Monday, fly to Chicago, manager meetings for my actual job. Be in Chicago Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Fly out from Chicago into Bozeman, Montana. Drive to Butte. Be there for a game Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Come back Friday. And then on, Friday, get back here. Be around the next Saturday, the next day to watch some football. We'll do our show that Sunday night, and then we're into the first week of September. So it's flying by, man. August is going to be gone. We're going to be into September, and it's going to be football season.
Absolutely. It just the whole year's kind of flown by, truthfully. The summer certainly has. I got 2 middle schoolers now, Jason. Both of my kids are in middle school. It's crazy. Crazy. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. Well, so are you doing the whole like flying from Butte back to Fargo, or are you driving?
Flying. So I'll go back to Bozeman. Bozeman will have I think I'm going Bozeman, Denver to Fargo.
There you go.
So it is by happenstance that our manager meetings that I've got for work are in Chicago. That certainly helps me to get there on that Thursday because I can get direct out of Chicago into Bozeman. Then it's like hour and a half drive from Bozeman over. So pretty easy, pretty straight, and you can go pretty fast.
Go real fast. Just avoid the moose.
Exactly. Drive by Three Forks, wave at our friends up in Helena, keep going to Butte, get to Butte, and then be there for that first game. I don't think I'm not going to say like, obviously I'm going there to watch some NAIA football, but there's some other stuff that's going to be going on there that I'm going to be a part of. I'm not saying what, because I haven't seen an announcement on it yet. So I don't want to like let the cat out of the bag. That's not my cat to let out of a bag. So I'll let those people do what they're doing, but just know my friends from Ottawa, Arizona, that'll be at the game, and my friends from Butte that will be in Butte, or anybody at the game, I'll be there. Come say hi. Just don't punch me. I won't look good on Sunday for the show. Hurting my face.
They shouldn't. It's always been positive. It's always been positive. Nothing but love for old Dannelly and Donley. Come on.
Do I need to remind you about a certain St. Francis alum?
Oh, yeah.
That guy that wanted to beat me up?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that guy.
There's been a couple of those through the years, but I'm just like, dude, whatever. Like, bring it. I don't care.
Tell you what, the national championship, it was a love fest, babe. It was a love fest. The Dannelly and Donley love fest. We were quite popular. I got more cookies from the Grandview like moms. Oh, it's like, yeah, look at the chubby guy. Hey, give him a bunch of cookies. That's what he needs. I got a beer in one hand and a cookie in another. It's like it was like the whole time. It's like, ladies, I don't want the diabetes. Okay, we just wonderful cookies, and they were just fantastic. All kinds of baked goods.
Just promoting diabetes and cirrhosis of the liver. We got both of them coming.
That's probably with me. So anyway, how are things with you? Good. Everything's good, huh?
Everything's good. We've, it's been a crazy summer, a fun summer with having a 3-year-old, obviously, and doing the whole dad life thing. It was one of those, I felt bad because I made supper early tonight, or dinner for some of you people out there. Made it early so that we could eat beforehand, but she was late waking up from a nap, so she didn't want to eat. But then I've heard her outside playing with her friend, and then it's bath night tonight. So we're doing that whole thing. We're not into the daily bathing quite yet, but we're getting there. And we're going through the world of potty training right now, which that's an adventure. Nothing like having 5 straight days of good and then going out in public and she looks at you and goes, "Daddy, I have to pee." And then 4 seconds later, "Oh, you're just doing it, aren't you?" It's my life right now.
That's why it's great being 46 and having a 3-year-old.
Good timing. Good, but I would say the 46-year-old Jason handles that much better. He just kind of looks and goes, "All right, well, guess we'll deal with this. I've dealt with worse." But yeah,
I did it at 36 and it still wasn't fun, but it's interesting.
No, it's solid. I love it, man. Wouldn't give it up. As people like to say, they're blessed and all that. I'm in a good situation, man. Got a great kid, got a great lady. We've got a good house. I get to talk some NAIA football. Got a real full-time job. I actually like, knock on wood. Things are good. Things are positive. That's it. I mean, sometimes when you simplify life, man, it's amazing how much better life can be. I think when I was chasing dreams or constantly had this battle to try to get ahead and do this and do that, like I was a lot less happy person. And I've just learned through the years, like, man, there's only so many things you can control in this world. Like, just worry about that. Don't worry about the other stuff. The whole like Zen, Buddha, stoic nature, like, hey, worry about yourself and what you have. And, it's not the things that upset you. It's you that upsets you and your attitude towards those things. Like if something upsets you, change your attitude about that thing. I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent here because I've been reading Ryan Holiday, Daily Stoic.
Control the controllables.
Yep.
There you go.
Pretty easy. Like this camera goes haywire tonight, gets all fuzzy. I can't control it. All I can do is just look like a goofball going forward, backward, distract you from your actual thoughts, and we make it work, man.
Yeah. Hey, look over here. Thought gone. That's me. That's my problem. Yeah. Good old ED, man. Good show.
All right. We should wrap things up. Again, folks, we're back Sunday night, 7:00 Eastern, 6:00 Central. If you want to contribute to the Victory Sports Network, there is a link in the comments. You can go to victorysportsnetwork.com, find the link there. In fact, I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to go to the website. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to put it in the comments here for you to find if you want to donate to the Victory Sports Network. We're crowdfunded this year. We're not doing any advertisements, so you don't have all the pop-ups all over the website and the things cutting in. We're not doing that. Go on out there. If you want to support, you can. If not, totally cool if you don't. But the more that you support, the more likely it is that Pat and I will be at the national championship game. The rest of your support helps pay for it, the streaming, the website, all the stuff behind the scenes that there is cost to, like there is actual cost to make sure that we're doing this right. Pat, final thoughts before we wrap things up.
So long, everybody. Till next week. Looking forward to it. Getting so much closer. 11 days. 11 days to NAIA football. Right around the corner, folks.
All right. We're back in 1 week. He's Pat Donnelly. I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley from the Victory Sports Network. Check us out, victorysportsnetwork.com. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias. Do that whole thing. Get on out there and enjoy some NAIA football. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye-bye.